Hello everyone, welcome back to the OS World Cup. It's finally here this time. We're here today with the seed reveal. We've just finished the qualifiers and we'll be talking about those. I'm Azer, and I'm joined with Chiliapair and Doomsday. How are you guys doing today?
Pleasure.
Yo.
So
Doing
excited.
fantastic.
That is an amazing day.
Right, we finally got all the teams done, and everyone just finished playing maybe about like 20 minutes ago. A lot of surprises, I think, this year. Would you say a lot of a lot of interesting plot twists?
Yeah, it's like a proper soap opera. This man, the level of competition throughout has been so strong this year, and honestly, like I say, as we go through this, certainly going to be a lot of interesting chatter about how these results went. Like, we'll have to see how it goes.
Different ways, a lot of seedings that are going to be quite unexpected for most. So all those of you who filled out your pick'ems, be prepared to be amazed for a lot of these.
Yeah, last year I believe not a single person got their top 8 qualifiers pick'ems right. I believe the best person had 6 of 8. I'm gonna go and say right now that it's gonna be the same case again. there's I would say 2 or 3 teams in the top 8 that were not likely to be over the teams that didn't make it. We'll get to that very soon. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of surprises. So one thing to quickly mention, I guess we should mention how seeding was done, just to be clear about it. Essentially, the seeding was done by acquiring the ranking of each team on each mod bracket, right? So we combined, for example, Hidden, we would combine their rank compared to the other teams on both of the hidden picks, and then that's their hidden bracket rank, and then we basically just summed all of the mod brackets up. So maybe individual maps have less impact, I would say, but like the overall performance on the entire mods, and that's including no mod of course as well, which I believe is weighted more, I'm not quite sure. You know, everything is pretty well balanced. So yeah, before we start, is there anything that you guys want to mention?
No, I think you pretty much covered how this went pretty well there. I think really after that, all that's really left is to go through and see how each of the countries fared. Of course, there were a lot of countries competing this year, 48 teams competing in the qualifiers, and well, only 32 can make it through. So we're going to be seeing 16 teams go out at this stage, which is a lot, much more than last year. So
yeah, I believe last year there was 43 teams that played, so 5 new ones this year. Some coming back for had a long break. I think a couple of teams haven't played since like 2013 or 2014.
Yeah, some big comebacks.
Well, yeah, so we're gonna start with the bottom. So we're gonna start by mentioning the teams that unfortunately didn't make it this year. Start off with Croatia at 48th place. Did not play last year, so this is one of the new teams in OWC. Maybe not new in lifetime, but at least they did not play last year, right? So, if just as a mention on the overlay, if it says last year's placing is 64th, that's what that means. It means they didn't play last year. It's a bit of a shame we're not going to see the Fart Lord in OWC. I just have to mention that. I'm sorry.
Maybe next year, of course.
Next year. There's always next year.
All right, so let's move on now to the seed 47. It's going to be Latvia. Latvia is also a team that was very, very present throughout OWC's history. Unfortunately, they're not really going to be present this year. Yeah, I think a lot of people were curious to see a Kolibed, considering he's ranked 13th.
Yeah, extremely high ranked player. And of course, a lot of names there that have played in many OWCs in the past, but this year it's not going to be them making it through to the brackets, so...
Unfortunately, low all-around performance with a lot of teams doing extremely well this year. Just the competitiveness of all of it means that, you know, putting up the same performance that you did last year is not necessarily enough this year.
Yep. So moving on now, seed 46 is going to be Colombia. Again, a new team this year. I believe it might be their first time ever playing OWC. I'm not quite sure. I don't really remember the last time they played, but yeah, I think being a relatively new team just wasn't good enough, it looks like.
Yeah, really good experience though. A lot of the players coming in pretty new to the high end of the OWC, but of course they can take this experience and bring it in for next year.
Of course, let's now move on to Thailand. It's going to be at seed 45. Again, a new team. Not the first time they play, but yeah.
Yeah, Thailand have had some strong performances in OWC over the years. Have some strong players, but unfortunately the results didn't go their way this year. Just how it is. You can see, like, they have some very solid players, but not this year, I'm afraid, for Thailand.
All right, let's move now to Hungary, the seed number 44. We're gonna kind of like speed run through these until we get to maybe like 34, 35, something like that. We'll see. But yeah, Hungary, I think, also played last year. Last year they also did not qualify, and I believe last year was their first time playing. So a bit of an I don't know. I wouldn't say it's an improvement, but They did do a
about
good
the same.
performance on Hidden 2, which
Yeah,
is
they did.
notoriously a map that a lot of teams struggled on. So there's
It's
that.
just the rest, unfortunately, didn't go so well. But yeah, that hidden 2 score is actually pretty solid. But yeah, I mean, with the higher end of competition this year, certainly keeping the work going, trying to improve it on next year. You need to work on some of that stuff other than hidden 2, I guess.
Being one of the newer teams, they'll slowly figure out what they need to work on over the years and show up maybe a little bit better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so moving on now to a team that repeated their exact same placement this year. Here goes Switzerland. Yeah, 43 again. So, they're pretty consistent. It's worth noting, I think CXV did pretty good. I think in relation to most of the other scores in the qualifiers from every team. Unfortunately, this is a team game, so...
Yeah, very neutral in terms of everything that they put up for all their scores on the maps as well. Almost the same for every mod going around.
Yeah, Chili, why don't you go ahead and talk about the next couple of teams, right? You're going to announce
Right,
42?
Next up, we have 42 Team Vietnam. They placed the same as last year, once again, 42. Same as Switzerland. A couple known players from tournament community coming around this year, but low numbers all across the board. Again, a common theme that we see in these lower level teams here that have not qualified, unfortunately. Best player notably is Ui-chan, up there below the captain 2 on there. Best map is a double time for them at the 22nd, so a good performance on some, but overall, work on it for next year again.
Yeah, again, a pretty consistent team. 42 again.
We have next up skipping to Uruguay, who placed 41th this year. They did not qualify last year, but a little bit closer in the 35th spot, so dropped just with a lot of the better teams coming by this year. Plox, most notably, number 65 on their team, trying to do anything he could, putting up as their best player this year, but not slipping through quite yet. I think we have next up is going to be Peru. This is a team that did not show up last year. Had a pretty good showing this year, 40th. Not quite at the top 32, just a little bit below it. Arnold, 24x24, has been popping up a lot in the tournament scene lately, putting up a good performance for his team. Unfortunately, not a ton of people in Peru to field a team, although they, once again, one of those non-qualifying teams having a good performance on the Hidden 2, a thing we've seen a couple of teams now.
I think that can probably largely be attributed to Arnold, like he's kind of known to be able to play that type of map, right?
Arnold's
Yeah,
solid
for
in the
sure.
OAR.
It's really good to see him able to take part in this year's OWC, though. It's really good to see. But for the team, not going to be in terms of the bracket stage.
So close yet so far. Next up is our 39th seed. It will be Lithuania. They did not play last year. Again, that a team that has showed up this year. Some good players on the team with Lithuania. Shinaru was their best player for qualifiers overall. A team that did pretty consistent across all of their mods, best being Hidden on a couple of their players here, but the low scores there, taking the 39th spot, coming a little bit closer.
Yeah, Dooms, how about you go and introduce a couple of teams?
Oh, yeah. The next one, appearing in 38th, is actually a surprise for me. It's actually Denmark. Won't be making it through to the bracket stage this time. Historically, a pretty strong team. And certainly does pretty well in the last few years. Many solid players. Sporklover, long-time captain. And a fairly solid team overall, but the level of competition this year has been really high, and they're not going to make it through qualifiers this year. Of course, Sporklover did do well again.
Biggest.
I think
It's a big one, man. I was a big surprised when I saw this, but I suppose this time it just wasn't to be.
Yeah, this is probably the biggest surprise of the teams that are not qualifying. It's been unfortunate, especially since they've been playing for such a long time. There's one other team in there that's going to come up soon as well that I'm a little bit surprised over, but we'll get to that soon.
Yeah. In 37th, it is going to be the Czech Republic, who also won't be making it through this time. A team that has played in the group stages and bracket stages of previous tournaments won't make it through this time. Another team with some solid names in their roster. Poggers, CZ, and Bloodbursting and Nitrom have been very solid this year, but not going to be for this team. Solid runs on that Hot Up 2, though. It's a fairly solid placement for them. but unfortunately not to be. Pogger's CZ was their strongest player, did pretty well for them in this qualifier, but unfortunately no progression this year.
Yeah, let's now move on to Belgium, which was the other, I think this is a surprise. Yeah, Belgium not going to be making it this year, 36. Last year they barely, I think they barely did. I think they qualified pretty well, but was not able to get any wins. But yeah, a lot of very notable tournament players in here, especially in recent years in community tournaments. So it's a bit of a surprise to see not doing so good. Yeah, better luck next year.
'35th, it is going to be Spain, who managed to get through just about in the last round, but this time they will not be getting through. Antonio did very well for them in the qualifier stage. They were missing a few players from last year that did pretty well for them, but this year, this new team can't quite make it to the brackets. Really close though, 35th. Unfortunately,
Check out that Nomad 1.
11 and then 21 and Nomad 2
11,
as well. The Nomad.
Nomad 1 team. No, it's hard to be consistent on these Nomad 1s. It tends to see a lot of silly misses, but so 3.4 million at this level is actually really good.
For sure.
But it's just not enough, unfortunately.
Notable, almost having their other average scores on the mods as well at 27. Next up is Slovakia in 34th seed, doing a little bit better than they did last year, actually, coming from 36th. Their best map, very notably a low one as well, number 11 on that DT1 spot. A good spade lineup here. Tikef, most notably, their strongest player overall this year, especially on those stream maps. A decent team backing him up, but with, again, a lot of the hard teams showing out this year, it is a lot to put a qualifying team together.
And again, that DT1.
Definitely. A few good players on that squad as well. But this year, man, it's just so close, but not enough, unfortunately, for Slovakia.
And we'll now move on to the last non-qualifying team. It's going to be Portugal. They did not qualify last year, 38th, again, to 33, so slight upgrade. Unfortunately, just wasn't good enough.
It's agonizing for Portugal. The upgrade, but still, it ends here for them. Some solid players as well, King Lizard and Mizuru. But Mackie Donalds was their strongest player, who's been playing very well in tournaments this year, doing well for his team. But it's one of those, man. The seed 33. Oh, man.
It's one of those experiences where you kind of just remember, you learn this moment, you'll remember this, and then you'll get better because you don't want to be seed 33 again. It's never a good feeling. I think it was Argentina last year.
It was Argentina, yeah.
And I mean, they did. I mean, I guess it's not really much of a spoiler because we just mentioned all the teams that did not qualify, but Argentina did get better in qualify, so we'll get to that soon enough. But yeah, that's all the teams that did not make the tournament this year. So better luck next year. Hope to see you again. And now we'll get straight into the teams that qualified. So at 32, barely qualifying, it's going to be Malaysia. Last year, again, it was so close, 34. They didn't make it. This time they did.
A team with a lot of pedigree in the past, actually. Malaysia have had some very strong teams. They've been high seed in previous years. Some very solid players they've had. Like X-Serious Business comes to mind as a very strong Malaysian player of the past. But this time, though, they will get a chance at the bracket stage in 32nd seed.
Now at 31st, also qualifying, did not make it through last year. It's going to be the Philippines. And yeah, pretty similar story. Pretty good performance on the hiddens, most notably, I would say.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, big difference on the low there. And the double time they really made a push for this year as well, 26th. It's just, you see the difference from these qualifying teams versus the non-qualifying. It's the well-roundedness of just the lower average score on mods you saw as we approached the top 32. There was maybe one mod category that they had a good score in, but you start to hit those more well-rounded teams where they're able to put up low scores here, and the Philippines proving that this year from last year as well. Zone Luis putting up a good performance for them, and Hyok as well. Both of them top scoring almost every map for their team.
All right, how about the next one, Chili?
I think we have next up will be the 30th spot, Austria. This is a team that is coming back from last year. They made or not coming back from last year. My apologies. They are showing up and qualifying this year in the 30th spot with some notable players. We have Goose Fedora as their best player, and a lot of low average scores. Again, most notable scores on Hard Rock 1 and Nomad 4 with 17th and 19th. They did also have their 416th ranked FIDE had a Nomad 3 FC, which is something that was pretty far and few between over all the qualifiers.
That's solid. I actually should mention as well, they did actually qualify last year. That's a mistake. They did make it to the brackets. They had a nice run, actually. Yeah. But yeah, no doubt. A team with a lot of pedigree, and another one that's had some very, very solid performances in the past. The likes of Goose Fedora, Tepi, all have been doing very well and did very well last year. Mika appearing on the roster this year is going to be exciting for a lot of viewers, I'm sure. Rank 4 in the world, very solid double-time player. So we'll see how he does.
All right. So moving on now to the seed number 29. It's going to be Turkey. Again, last year barely made it. I believe they were like seed 30 or 31 or something.
32?
Slight improvement. Yeah, I mean, DT2, Nomad 1, pretty good mechanical players.
Turkey, of course, notable for being the only team last year to hold a lead against the US, taking the first map in that round of 32 match. Certainly, considering the team that US fielded last year, this year, they can take that to this year and maybe bring it even further than that, depending on who they draw, of course, which we'll find out later.
Making a good performance improvement, going up 3 seeds from last year. I remember it was the big talk of the tournament, Turkey kind of squeezing in that 32nd qualifier spot, and now kind of boosting themselves up to the 29th spot, making those improvements, maybe seeing some more fun stuff from them this year. Their best player was actually their captain this year as well. Hey Roni, being a big player for them. As we slide into the number 28th spot next, the Ukraine, who did not qualify last year. They put together a very strong team this year with a lot of lineup changes and have proven that they are able to qualify with the players they put together here.
Yeah, Ukraine have always been on the edges. I remember in 2013 they had a good run. And of course, this is a big upgrade in how they did last year. So I imagine they are very relieved that they are going to be able to play the brackets this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of pretty recognizable names. I think Sadness, most notably, at least for me.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's Ukraine. So moving on now to 27th, it's going to be Mexico. And yeah, a lot of upgrades on this team as well. They qualified quite well last year, but yeah, Nomad 1 being the best map. For a team that's seeded 27th, getting a 12th best score, certainly really good.
Yeah, another big Nomad 1 team, it seems. Strong mechanical players. 4 players return, 4 new names, but their core roster stays. So, and they had some good results in the last year's tournament. Certainly curious to see how they do this year.
Yeah, so at the very beginning of the stream, I mentioned there's a couple teams that it's been a while since they've been here. Here's one of them. Let's talk about Estonia at seed 26. I believe this team has not played since 2012 or 2013 or something. I don't have the stat. It's been a very long time. But qualifying without any issues. Seed 26 here. Again, a lot of pretty notable players on this team, namely Abyssal and Tiger Claw. I think most people are going to be familiar with, and really good performance on the streamy Nomad Juvenile.
Yeah, there's a few up-and-coming players here, and Sentha is a very solid player as well, the captain this year. They have a pretty decent core, and the new players that are coming in, like those newer players that maybe are new to many people, Eminem and Save Me, done very well. Certainly an exciting team, because the unknown prospect, how will they do in the brackets? I'm so curious.
It was a very good qualifier performance as well. It was a very close tie between the map scores on Abyssal and Senthe for the top, or rather the best player for their team or most important. So, showing that they can come out this first year and make a big difference in their team and push them to a good qualifying spot to start off for the first time in a long time this year.
For sure, we're now going to move on to seed number 25. It's going to be Israel. And yeah, I think this is also a pretty significant upgrade. Seed 25 from 40 last year. I think could largely attribute that to Silver not being Mappool, as he was last year, I believe.
Yeah, he was map pooling last year, but this time he's actually going to be playing for Team Israel, and a player of massive pedigree, certainly going to be boosting his team to this stage. And as the tournament progresses, he's going to be a big linchpin for this team. Many old players, though, returning. Mr. Potato, who was the captain for Israel for many years, returns, not as the captain this year, I believe, but also Galog returning from the previous year will now get a chance to play in the brackets this time. So
yeah,
we'll see how they do.
Honestly, I would quickly just mention Silver, but they have really good team scores. It's number 7 on Nomad 2 and number 9 on Hard Rock 1. That is insane for a team of this seed. That is extremely good. It's higher than some of the top 8 players, top 8 teams, top 4 teams even.
Yeah, you know what? Looking at that, actually, this seed might be kind of brutal because, of course, you see that number 9 on Marasa paired with the rank 31 really tanking that. So, yeah, it's pretty strong for this seed. Wow.
Yeah, they probably don't want to talk about what happened on Hard Rock 2.
Yeah,
so let's move on to the top 24. It's going to be Finland. And again, pretty similar placing. They were 25th to 32nd last year. Freezed, I think, most notably last year. Really showed up in the early stages with like free mod HDHRs, got MVPs across all teams on a couple of them, and they did really good on DT, as we can see.
Yeah, they have a lot of new players that are up and coming. Another one of those teams, and some that we've even seen before. I think I would most notably pick out Shadooz, who was their most important player out of qualifiers, top scored the most maps for their team. I believe he's also dropped over maybe 1,000 ranks over the past month or so. So he's made vast improvements in his speed and streaming ability and Hard Rock on here. So seeing him on the team this year is going to make a big difference for them, along with a lineup that was already fairly solid, pushing them just past that qualifier spot. You see a DT1, another top 10 qualifying map for them there. Unfortunately, the 29 on DT2 not helping once again, but those top 10s are big.
Yeah, it's a team that progresses every year, I feel. They get a little bit better and a bit more scary. And certainly this lineup can cause some close games against some of the tougher opponents if it goes their way. So we'll see how they do.
And now, speaking of teams that did not qualify this year and made significant upgrades, here comes Argentina, who was 33rd. And now they're pretty comfortable. They did extremely good considering that placement, didn't they?
Yeah, they definitely made it work. And a team with, a massive history in this tournament. Appeared in many tournaments consecutively. Of course, last time they barely dropped out, agonizingly so. But this time, certainly a comfortable qualification here, and plenty of solid tournament players in that lineup.
Yeah, this is a team that plays together the majority of the year as well. There's a Argentinian community tournament team that they kind of throw together every once in a while that you'll see quite a bit. But I guess maybe working together a little bit more and figuring out how this comes a full circle, rather, is giving them that big improvement jump that they needed this year with a lot of low average scores. 15th on DT, which is very good overall.
Certainly. Let's now move on to Singapore at seed number 22. Pretty similar to last year again. I think this is about where you'd expect this team to be in terms of qualifiers, right? They seem to be very consistently around this. They never really have any issues qualifying. I think Lange most notably had some very, very good accuracy scores on this team.
Yeah, I mean, Lange is a solid player, but he top scored in a team that's full of players that have been very solid at this level in the past. GS Blank, been playing for many, many years. He returns. Kitty, very solid tournament player this year. Vitizen as well has been putting in good results. Solid speed player. Demonical, very highly ranked, good at mechanics. They got a solid roster this year, and they had a good run last year in the tournament. They'll be hoping to replicate that, because that was a decent run they had.
Yeah, very good qualifiers performance overall. One of the more consistent teams in terms of their placements at this level of seeding, with 18th, 17th, and 18th for all of the modded categories. No mod, really the only thing that's holding them back out of that, top 20 spots here. But 22nd, definitely a well-deserved from Singapore this year.
Here's another team that also underwent a lot of upgrades. Here's Chile at the seed 21. This is probably one of their best qualifier placements in a long time. I think most notably due to the addition of intercambing, would you say?
I'd agree with you on that. Intercambing has been putting in a shift this year. One of the strongest tournament players that's cropped up in the last 12 months or so. Going to be exciting to see how he plays. And honestly, the whole team this year is very solid. IGN as well, very solid consistency player with very good placements, alongside an already solid core, including, of course, Mathy, very well-known, highly ranked player. Yes, good team this year. I bet Chilean fans are going to be excited.
Matthew finally having a lot of good late-stage players to back him up this year is going to make Chile a bit of a force in these early rounds here, especially with the consistency that we've seen in a lot of big community tournaments as of lately. Intercambing has just shown up as well. TFGE on the bottom, they're one of their more consistent players in terms of long maps or accuracy as well, so he'll be another good push. So, Chile finally being able to put together that good 4-man roster that they've been looking for a long time now, I think.
All right, so we're getting into pretty spicy territory now. Not necessarily just this pick, but Indonesia at 20. With, again, a very notable DT1 and a lot of big names on this roster. I think most notably with the addition of Lifeline, who I think a lot of people were curious to see playing, being ranked so high.
Yeah, Lifeline certainly has been rocketing up the ranks pretty much in the last 6 months or so. Very recently flying up there. He's had some solid tournament results as well. But alongside him, though, a lot of players with a lot of pedigree over the last few years. Skydiver, a very strong tournament player. Also, Ro, formerly known as SMH. Players like this, very solid in tournaments. Fuma and also Wolfred joining. Wolfred being a very solid tournament performer over the last couple of years. They got a lot of consistency power in this Indonesian team to back up that high-ranked grunt.
Yeah, this is one of those teams where you see, it's almost like one of those name brand teams where you kind of know most of the players that are coming out here and showing up. They're not new to tournaments. They're not new to the game in any sense. And them maybe showing up for OWC is something new, but their performance is still the same. And they're going to, show us from those qualifying scores here. Overall, pretty good in that 13th spot on DT. Is going to be very big for them, especially with a lot of strong speed rosters this year for most. But, they'll show us what they're made of here. Speaking of good speed rosters, in the 19th spot we have coming up is Italy. They are a little bit close to last year from what they had, number 16th going to 19th here. But a lot of players coming in and kind of struggled in the DT this year. The Hard Rock and the Hidden and the Nomad, really kind of the opposite of what we saw earlier. But some of the strong players we've seen lately, you have players like Koba and Spaza and Kirochi and Ryuzaki. So the big name players from Italy coming back this year.
I would say the seed is a fluke. This team is way better at DT than their DT seed is showing. So I would be very careful if you happen to be against Italy.
Yeah, for sure. To be fair, this Italian team is almost the same as the one last year. There's only one change. Caretto getting swapped in for Wanda, so new player Wanda in a roster that actually caused quite a few upsets and it ruined some of the pick'ems for many of the viewers here. So that team returns pretty much in its entirety. So we'll see how they do.
And now coming up next, it's going to be Netherlands. Again, a very staple team in the OWC. Lots of recognizable names on here. And pretty good Nomad and Hard Rock performances out of them. But yeah, again, this is also one of those name recognition teams. Pretty much everyone, except maybe 2 players, everyone is going to be very familiar with.
Yeah, plenty of old school names here. Vivlium, Tarku, Jackilam 5, Amnesia, and Skyrovania all are very well versed in the OWC. They're all very scary players. They all return backed up with some new Dutch blood. We'll see how they do.
Yeah, it's a country with a lot of depth. They always come back, each year with some remaining players and some new ones that have been showing up as of late as well. So, their skill kind of runs from the top to the bottom all the way through in that consistent performance for the Netherlands. So they always give us a show every year.
Yeah, those all the alternate and the techie map in no mod having some very good scores, 11th and 14th respectively. Certainly handy on those technical and alt heavy no mods. And of course, I guess Vivlium having the best run of this team. Maybe not too much of a surprise. Vivlium has always been very solid in these tournaments, and he's done it again for his team in these qualifiers.
Yeah, very good. The Hard Rock as well. Look at those low 15th and 17th. So the precision as well. Good for them.
So the next two teams are probably going to end up being the most entertaining match of the round of 32. So 17 and 16 obviously are going to be facing each other. So let's get into seed 17 Norway. Again, a lot of familiar names on this roster, and I mean, look at the hidden placing. I mean, I don't think it's surprising anyone, but look at it.
Yeah, the stereotype of Norway being the hidden team ain't going to change much, especially when you look at Jokspie and GN being on the same team. No Shu this year, but certainly plenty of scary players and old school names that everyone has seen watching this tournament for many years. Kevzi as well returns for another year, as well as Fiel.
That DT2.
That is the product of a lot of the switches that Norway have made this year and a lot of improvement as well. Fiel being their top scorer this year for the team, but adding players like Marcus to this roster who are very proficient and even late round speed and the consistency. This is probably the most well-rounded Norway we have seen in a very long time with these roster switches.
Actually, I think it's quite interesting to see the difference between both of their DT placements. That's going to be interesting. I'm not sure what information to get out of that if you were playing this team, which is going to be Romania at seed 16, is going to be playing Norway. Get the card on screen. There you go. So 11% of the people who entered their pick'ems had Romania in their top 8. So yeah, they're 16th, maybe a little bit lower than a lot of people expected. But yeah, still some good showing on a few of the maps, though, notably DT and Hard Rock too.
Yeah, they definitely had those scores that were just incredibly scary. Like 3.7 million on that Hard Rock 2 is no joke, and a lot of the players that played in that last campaign, the one that was one of the most fun sort of routes in OWC 2019 to follow. A lot of them are back. Badu, Afterwind, Shu, Eternum, Maxim Bogdan, Christy, and Rowley all played then. Only one swap with Lucci Bucci coming in on that 8th spot. So most of that team, that motley crew, returns for another run. And yeah, some of those scores are very scary. It's just, I guess some of the other scores drop the seed a bit, but it's still a comfortable progression. But wow, it's led into a very solid first match for them against Norway.
It's always a fun team to watch. You never know what they pull out of the bag this time. So here's another team that's probably going to destroy a lot of pick'ems. 25% of people had this team in their top 8, and they're placing at 15th. But most notably, this team at the 15th seed has the best hidden one score of the entire qualifier stage.
Yeah, that hidden one. It was a tough map. I mean, number one having 3.1 million. Yeah, but yeah, of course, the seed doesn't necessarily reflect that, but anyone that watches OWC knows what Taiwan is capable of. This team is full of scary tournament players. Just Shield, Flask, Sheen and Rico, GFMRT, the whole squad. You can't really pick out one.
Yeah, everyone's
terrifying spot for 15th seed.
Yeah.
Scary team.
Again, like this is not a 15th seed team, excuse me. Like, this is very much a scary experience for whoever gets to face them, which I believe they will face off against the Netherlands first.
Yes, I think. I don't This is one of those teams where they show up as a little bit lower in the seeding because their all-round performance isn't necessarily something that they maintain. But if you look at things like HD1 and HR2 and even Nomad 3 that we mentioned, they certainly have their maps that they are proficient at, and there are the places that duly noted you need to be scared of this team if you are facing up against them. Completely following Taiwan from 15th to the 14th seed is a team that everyone knows all too well over the course of OWC. China, a team that I feel like almost shows up completely different in terms of how they perform every year, but with a solid performance and a good team that is returning a lot of returning players this year. They're going to look to make another good run.
Yeah, again, a lot of recognizable names on this team. Notably, Crystal, I think, has done so much in community tournaments. David as well. And Burger Fox, which used to be known as Kurumi. Pretty much everyone on this team has a lot of experience, not only just in OWC, but also in community tournaments. It's actually quite a scary team to go against. Really solid no-mod performances and just a lot of experience. Extreme and GGBY, notably just playing OWC so many times. I think this is GGBY's 8th OWC or something ridiculous like that. Like, he's been here for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, actually, it's his 9th OWC this, so yeah. Incredibly experienced player. This team, as mentioned, a lot of returning names, but I feel like the vast majority have significantly improved. So an already scary team from 2019, even scarier this year. Of course, Emetexi as well returning is a big deal. Played in previous Chinese teams, but not last year. Very solid DT player back in the roster.
And now here's a team that's been improving a lot, I think mostly due to a player that goes by the name of Reedcat. Here's Sweden at seed 13. I believe this is their highest seeding in a long time as well. Very scary team, very upcoming in community tournaments. A lot of these players, not just Reedcat, but a lot of big names on this. Pretty scary performances across the board.
Yeah, the Swedish team is personally one of the most exciting teams this year to watch. Because, a lot of these players have been popping off in tournaments. And, of course, Sweden have been slowly building their team under the radar over the last couple of years. But this team truly is very strong. And I'm so curious to see how this year goes for them.
They have a lot of good players with the improvement this year and a couple of changes from previous years. I know, Reedcat with probably one of the fastest improving over the past year names in the tournament community. He has absolutely just rolled through players that we would never have expected, and their seeding this year is very reflected by their improvement in skill. 8 and 6 on Nomads 1 and 2, and 7 on DT1. So some top 8 spots on quite a few maps. HR2 just barely missing it. You also have players like Endros, the number 1 in the country. I believe he is a flag change from Mexico, so he's a newer addition to the Swedish team in OWC, but a welcome one with his raw mechanics skill as of late.
Now here's a team that's going to destroy a lot of pick'ems, because 84% of people who selected their pick'ems entered this in their top 8. It's going to be UK at the 12th seed. A lot of, most notably losing Spare and Carthy is quite a big hit. I think they're still doing quite good, but kind of have a little bit of a hill to climb just from seeding. They're gonna have a lot of pretty scary matchups.
Yeah, the level of competition this year is insane, and even though compared to last year, not quite that incredibly high placement that we've had. We're coming into this with a solid seed, and I think the team that the UK is building this year is looking to build the next set of big UK OWC players. A lot of new names that have been coming up in this year and last year. Of course, seeing Majora and Blue return, but 2 new players, Kingling and Malteser, joining the roster this year for the first time, who have been improving incredibly quickly over the last 12 months. Finally get their chance. Of course, Bubbleman returns, the ever-present captain, and I managed to sneak in somewhere. But I think we have a good team this year. I think we'll do all right. We'll do our best, of course.
I think they have a very good team. Malteser and Kingling are very welcome additions, I feel like, to this team. Kingling has been putting in probably more hours than anyone that I have seen in this game in the past couple of months in terms of playtime, and Malteser really working on, improving his higher skill caps here. Notably, both of them each top scoring a map for the UK team this year as the new players in qualifiers. So definitely pulling their weight more than they need to here.
Yeah, Majori and Blue also doing some really good performances. Lots of MVPs for both of them. So it's pretty interesting to see how all of their players develops. Let's now move on to Seed 11. It's going to be Japan. And yeah, I mean, also this is this is a team that has a lot of question marks from a lot of people, a lot of new players that we're not too familiar with, and it looks like they're pretty good.
Yeah, it's Japanese team has been building up after the golden years, I suppose, of just before 2015. But yeah, now this team is just full of very scary players. I think last year they had a pretty unlucky draw, to be honest, with some of the teams they drew, and maybe didn't get as far as they would do this year. But this time they are back for another go. Of course, of our Valiant, the ever-present, incredibly strong player both in solo and in tournaments, alongside Dectopia returning, Delis returning as well under his actual name, as well as A Blue, among a very strong team of other players as well. So how are they going to do this year? It's hard to call, but they can certainly do well.
We don't have the stats ready yet for this, but I believe our Valiant was one of the top performing players across all of qualifiers, across all teams. He has the highest Nomad 1 score, that's what we know, and he has the second highest DT1 score as well. Those are just two of them, right? So it's done really good. It's always nice to have a player like that on your team.
Yeah, absolutely. And look at that Nomad 1 as well. They had the second best score on that Nomad 1, almost 4 million score.
And that's very impressive. Japan is always one of those teams, I think, that shows up with the aim every year. It's always, I feel like it's scary sometimes to see that, the Japanese team is somehow every year, no matter what roster change they pull out, is able to be like one of the top 3 Nomad 1 aim consistency teams every year. So it runs deep with them here with that mechanics ability. And no shortage of that in our next team as well. A team that may surprise some people, maybe not surprising people with some of their roster changes.
They surprise us every year.
Yeah, really. Number 10, Hong Kong, coming up once we get that card change. There we are. 10th seed. They were 8th seed last year, so very similar to what they did. But look at that. 7th and 6th on Nomad and Hard Rock, with number 3 on 3 of the Nomad maps.
3 is the magic number. Yeah, this Hong Kong team, every year they're always so great to watch. A team that always goes above and beyond. But now they're a known quantity. Everyone knows how strong these guys are. Names like Denny and Nezar, formerly known as CLP, been playing in this tournament for many, many years. Chaos Litz returns as the ever-present captain.
Yeah, always kind of like I think Hong Kong is probably the most, maybe not so anymore because they've caught up in ranks a little bit, but they were definitely a big beneficiary of the qualifier system being introduced, because this team would often be put in like low seed or bottom seed because of their ranking. They've never really been a team at that level. There's been a lot of upsets about that. So no, there you go. They have an appropriate seed this time. And
that was the Wild West, that was. Hong Kong bottom seeding every year. Oh my gosh.
So now for the last remaining team outside of the top 8 at 48% of Pick'em top 8 picks, it's going to be Brazil, just barely making it out. And look at those DT scores.
Oh, yeah, those are pretty high. Wow. The speedy team. So scary, not only on DT, which they've always been very solid on DT, but they're such a scary all-around team. Many players returning. Of course, Mouse Easy, the captain and one of the strongest players of the last few years in this tournament, returns. Korian Maluko as well, formerly known as My Angel Sim, who played last year, returns alongside Mistia and Nissan joining in. Louise as well returns. I believe Tusk and Dada, this is the first tournament they're playing this time. Of course, Dada, formerly a Mappool,
I believe
plays
so.
this shit.
Yeah, it's worth noting Mouse Easy played 9 of the 10 maps and FC'd 7 of them. Just Mouse Easy things, you know? This shouldn't surprise anyone. He kind of just goes. But yeah, there's a couple of people that caught on to it in chat. There's a team that kind of hasn't been mentioned yet.
In the top 8.
In the top 8 that I think a lot of people did not expect in the top 8, evidently. It's not quite yet, though. Let's get into the 8th seed, Australia, at a lot of correct prediction at 77%. Australia, notably one of the rosters that's just keeps getting better every single year. And of course, the addition this time of Emrek, I guess, who's very, very good in solo play. But I think most notably Machine, who absolutely popped off in qualifiers, playing 8 maps and FCing 6 of them.
I guess you could say he was a machine in that qualifier lobby. But yeah, this team is absolutely fantastic in terms of tournament performance. I'm so sorry. But yeah, Dummy, Ugadi, and Ryriku, all very solid. Secret Box as well. They're so good in tournaments this year. And this year, many people have been excited about Australia's top 3 prospects, maybe even beyond. And you can understand why looking at this roster.
I think this is one of those teams where their seeding is a little bit lower than I think what they probably deserve, putting up that 5th and 6th spots on Nomad Hidden and DT Hard Rock. Really the only thing holding them back this year. And I think with a lot of their lineup, they could improve upon that quite a bit. So Australia is a team to be scared of. I think, they showed up last year with a very good roster and, didn't exactly perform to the level that maybe a lot of people thought they were going to. And then, they came out this year and everyone, are going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Top 8 again. You're going to push their way in, and they finally made it with that 8th spot with that, really high performance on those 3 categories there. And I think we all know what's coming next.
I could be wrong, but I believe this team is, just by a solo rank, I believe they're the 2nd highest team in terms of like average rank behind the USA, I believe.
I think it looks like it. A lot of 2-digit rankings there.
Yeah, so at number 7 with 7% of top 8 picks. This is the trump card. Here comes France out of absolutely nowhere. Notoriously struggling over the years, but not this year. They've come into play the absolute best Hard Rock score of any other team. Where did this team come from?
This lineup really, like, out of left field with all of this, I feel like.
Look at that. The thing with France, though. Nah, go on.
No, I was going to say that the score is all around with this team. Just the number 1 spot on Hard Rock modification for this team this year, and number 4 unhidden as well. That is 2 single place spots, and that number 1 is a very hard spot to steal. France showing up with that.
Yes, they have had some issues in the last few years in terms of getting out of the early stages, but they've always had a strong team. They've always had scary players, but for one reason or another, it just doesn't seem to happen. But after this qualifier performance across the board, maybe this year is their year to really push on in this tournament.
Yeah, I'm actually just really looking forward to this because I've always felt for the last 4 or 5 years or something that this team it didn't feel like they were playing to the level that I feel like they should be playing at. It looks like they're maybe addressing those issues this time, and they're just coming in steamrolling a lot of teams that I think people expected to get top 8. But yeah, really, really solid performance, best in a long time. Very interested to see how this leads them in the tournament. Let's now get into seed number 6. It's going to be Russia. And Russia, look at those DT scores. Pretty good. The best Nomad 4 score as well, which was the tech map of the pool. I think expected placement for Russia, right? They're kind of always... They've been here for a very, very, very long time, and they've always been very scary.
Yeah, they've had they've always had good results. They always get up to, say, top 12, top 6. But then when they hit there, sometimes they might hit a roadblock. They'll hit one of the higher seed teams and just can't get past them. But they always have very solid placements every year. and their roster seems to keep returning. Lots of names returning year on year and proving that they're still up there. Red Pixel, Talalar, Okinatori, all return alongside Alametri, very highly ranked player who did very well last year. Gasha returns as well, another solid player. The Russian roster is always a scary one to face, and this year they're going to go at it again with another very solid seeding.
I think Russia's one of those teams. They show up every year. They're really, really strong for the entire tournament, and they're very consistent with how they perform in the tournament. And then, they hit the really late stages. You start to hit around, semifinals range, and as you mentioned, they kind of hit that wall a little bit where they either hit a really good team or maybe just aren't able to perform up to the levels of some of the teams that they're facing against. And I wonder if some of those roster changes this year, as well as some of the improvements coming out, are going to give them maybe that edge that they've just been looking for, just that slight bit to push them maybe out of that missing top 8 range.
Yeah, one thing to quickly mention, the seed for the actual seeding, or rather the average rank for seed 5 to 13 was really close. It was really close. So all of these teams kind of just slot in their own slots, but it was very, very close. Russia is at number 6, getting an average rank of 9.8, and I believe Japan at 11 had an average rank of 12.5. It was extremely close between all of the teams in between, but Russia kind of coming out on top of that clump. There's one more team at number 5 that was also very close at an average rank of 9.4. So the number 5 seed is going to be Korea. And again, a lot of unknown players on this team. And we kind of always worried, maybe they're a bit unknown, know about them. Turns out they're pretty good, because number 5 seed, I think, better than a lot of people would have given them credit for, considering there's 4 new players on this team, I believe, this year.
Yeah, I believe it's 4. Yeah, 4 new players. I'm getting deja vu with that, though, Aza, because I think we said the exact same thing last year. And then they went all the way with that new roster. Like, South Korea pump out some very good players that just happen to fly under the radar. So yeah, the 4 new players are Nelly Toru, Nope, KJK, Ryutel Koch joining the roster. Definitely have big boots to fill, and from the seeding results, I think they can do it.
They're going to push up the performance that they've been looking for, and I think they have a lot of really good replacements. As you mentioned, those shoes to fill. They're missing Gomo Silvar this year, Aristia, DDM, and Firebat. Those are 4 players that are probably, were probably the best of the best at what they did at some point, and it is going to be very good to see all of these new players get the chance to prove themselves on a big stage this year on a team that has quite a bit to live up to, getting that number 2 spot last year, falling only to the United States in grand finals.
Yep, Karuna was their best player in qualifiers, and no surprise, Karuna, very consistent performer, very rarely has an off day in these tournaments. So certainly one that the Koreans will be pinning their hopes on alongside their core 4, which do return. Zeus and Flying Tuna and Ponytail returning were 4 of their core players last year. So we'll see how they do.
I think next up we have a team that, I think there's been a lot of discussion about this year, given the appearance of one singular player. It is Germany in our 4th spot, 96% of the votes for top 8. Most notably being joined by White Cat this year, Smarty, and Neox. Hallowatcher is returning, I believe, from hiatus, if I'm not incorrectly, but Hallowatcher has played before, is returning now. But a solid Germany roster, placing in qualifier seeding the exact same as they did last year as a final performance in the tournament, and a ridiculously strong performance in qualifiers from Dust Ice, who is the returning champion of Germany every year. I feel that he is the one that puts up so much score for them every time. And that number 2 score, and 4th and 7th, top 8 in every single mod category.
Yeah, I actually thought it was pretty interesting that when you look at this team, you mostly just think of White Cat and Dust Ice, obviously, but actually their best performance was on Hidden. That was a big surprise to me. This actually just changed because there's another player on the team we haven't introduced yet that kind of took in and sniped the number 1 spot. But White Cat actually getting almost the top score on the AR8 Hidden which I think is kind of a plot twist. I think a lot of definitely not something you think about when you hear about White Cat, right? But that's very interesting. It's good to see that he can play those things, and that Germany is really benefiting from them.
Yeah, no doubt. This German team have always been terrifying opponents, but I think the addition of White Cat, where if they manage to get all the way to those end game grand finals pools, that's where White Cat's addition could make a big difference to this German team and get in all the way. So it's exciting times. So many people have been hyping up Germany, and I think I can see why.
They're probably the strong, even though they're only 4th seed, they're probably, in most people's eyes, the strongest contender for the USA, which we'll talk about soon enough. Not yet. But yeah, so that's the Germany at the 4th seed. There's only 3 teams remaining. Let's get into the 3rd seed, which is going to be Poland. And again, Wolf was the one that sniped the Air 8 hidden top score. But yeah, I mean, just again, Poland, I think flies under a few radars. Last year, they were a little bit underestimated as well in the qualifiers. They kind of came in, and I think they were 5th seed or 3rd seed. No, I think they were 3rd seed again last year. But yeah, pretty consistent performance across the board, which is, I think, what you want to see. I think when you're looking at qualifier stats, you want to see a team that's good at everything, and they sure are good at everything.
I think this is a team that is bringing back a lot of a previous roster, or either making very big improvements from what we've seen. We saw Poland take the win in OWC 2017 against the United States, or it was 2018, and I am completely off. But a team 2017, we did have it, and they have a lot of players this year that are either returning from that or are much better. Notably, Marek Maruka and Bartek, 2 names that if you are around the tournament community, you hear very, very often as of late. Marek, especially this year. I think Bartek's was kind of the earlier part of the year. But those 2 players being joined by, a lot of the, Rafis and Wolf and a lot of players that are returning as well. And some new ones as well, Mastas and Aldrush. And I'm not sure if Twosh is completely new, but they have a solid roster of returning and upcoming players as well.
Yeah, he's actually a new player. Yeah, Twodge Stara, formerly known as Michi, is new this year, but he has been making waves in community tournaments and in solo. So those additions are very strong. Master Ash actually has been very solid in tournaments, as well as the OC matchmaking queue as well. So he's definitely been putting in the work in terms of tournaments and consistency. Really strong roster this, but it always is.
Lots of scary names. As always. There's never been a year where Poland has not been that scary. But yeah, so we're gonna move on now. There's only 2 teams remaining. Let's get into the number 2 seed, Canada. What?
Yep. Can you tell us a little bit about Canada, Razor? I think you might know.
Would you like to explain what happened here?
Sure thing. Yeah. So as it turns out, I guess we're pretty good at DT and Hard Rock and No Mod, supposedly. Well, let's not talk about that Apocalypse score, but yeah, a lot of pretty good performances across the board. A lot of recurring names as well. I mean, Ryuke and Yummy and Stoof and Trev coming back from last year. Of course, myself. We have 3 new Rikus this year with Zudi, Nader, Recursion, and Nick. And yeah, all of them very, very much pulled their weight. Evidently, so it's pretty interesting to see what ends up happening later on in the stages, because Canada is historically a team that is pretty strong early, but doesn't quite have the roster to play the later stage pools, especially when we get the finals. So we'll see what happens.
There was a point where Canada was the not DT team, but I think that idea is firmly in the dirt now, looking at those DT scores.
Yeah, wow. I think the consistency overall with this team just putting up with a lot of good additions to the team. Unfortunately, I don't know too much about all 3 of the new additions, but a lot of good mod fills and maybe places that Canada was potentially lacking in last year that are, being rounded out by a very good 4th player for a roster this year. And even, those returning players that have been performing very well in past years. And, it came down to a very close. I think Yummy and My Tummy for qualifiers was a big fighter alongside our very own Azer here for Canada. So the 2 of them putting up the most top scores for their team in Canada is really soaring through the qualifiers this year.
It was very much a team effort, I'd like to add. And speaking of team efforts, this team needs no introduction. Your top seed of OWC 2020, it's going to be the United States. Is there really any surprise here? I mean, look at these scores. What is this?
Yeah.
They're almost top on everything except for Hard Rock.
They are back to defend their crown once again. The US team, absolutely terrifying, but with a lot of new names this year. Lots of big returning ones, of course. No surprise to see Vaxe return. The ever-present former captain Apraxia plays again, but lots of new names getting their chance to shine here. Looking at Kablaze, BTMC making the debuts, as well as Swaggy Swagster, also known as Rectagon, and also I'm a Fancy Lad, who has been putting in a big shift in community tournaments. One of the best players of this year, for sure, in the tournament scene, Fancy.
A big name in the United States. I think the roster this year, most notably, this is the biggest change that we've seen in the United States roster since, oh goodness, 2014 into 2015, maybe. And a lot of good returning players, but there are some that are rightfully so getting their opportunity to prove themselves on this stage. I think, even though Fancy Lad definitely one of the best players of the year right now, kind of going through a lot of these 1v1 big tournaments and community team tournaments. But the player that I think a lot of people should have their eyes on would be Kablaze. She has been around in this community for longer than I can remember and has almost been like right at the edge of OWC every single year and finally getting the chance to play this year, as well as BTMC getting to fit into the roster. Two very needed additions as well. A lot of replacing to do with the United States this year and a lot of people to fill. We have Digital Hypno missing this year. Idkey, most notably, Mappooling. We are missing Toy and Tony. So those big spots to fill, and the United States has done a very good job of finding some solid, very solid replacements this year.
Yeah, actually, that's kind of it feels to me like this is a bit of it's like a statement from them, there's a lot of questions last year, and not just last year, but kind of every year, that the talent pool of the USA is just so huge that they could field a second team and probably still do really good, right? There's a lot of really big name players who are not playing, and some of them chose not to play, as far as I know, to give room to a lot of these newer players that otherwise would not get opportunities to play. So this arguably is part of the USA B team, right? So I guess we'll get to see if they can still do just as good as they always have. Again, I think most people are mostly looking at Germany in terms of contention. I'm pretty curious to see how that ends up going.
Honestly, going through those qualifying teams, the vast majority of those, there's not that much between them, especially in the first early rounds. I think the early rounds of this tournament, with some of the matchups that these seeding has produced, are going to be a lot closer than some people may be expecting. I feel like every single year, the level of competition always increases. I feel like a broken record saying that, but it's true. This year, it's even closer than that.
The entire top 16. The entire top 16 is just very scary, honestly.
All in.
Straight up, yeah. I feel like any team out of that top 16 could have been a top 8, maybe even top 4, maybe even as early as like 3 years ago. The level of contention is extremely high.
Yeah, there's just so much difference in everything and every year in the top 16, and we mentioned the closeness in the points between each of these as you hit the top 8 is just absolutely absurd in how these teams performed. So as we work through these early stages of the tournament, even into the late ones, we'll be seeing a lot of exciting matches, I think, even more so than we have in past years.
So that is going to be it for the qualifier results. We're not quite done yet, but I believe that'll be it for Chillier and Doomsday. Thank you guys so much for joining us. It was a good time.
It's all good. It's all good.
Cheers.
Enjoy
Always
casting
fun.
the showcase, Aza.
Yes,
Thank you. And joining me for the showcase is going to be two of the map poolers. You guys should obviously be very familiar with these two. Been at it for a very long time. It's going to be OMG4s and Kano. How's it going, guys?
I'm doing just fine. How else can you feel after pooling for months? I'm feeling wonderful, great, motivated. How are you, Kano?
I feel splendid, man. It's 8 in the morning, and I'm ready for a Mappool showcase.
Let's go. Hope you're ready to wake up at 8 in the morning every Sunday, buddy. You're gonna be here for
Super
here for a
excited.
while. So yeah, now we're gonna get slowly but surely we're gonna get into the round of 32 map pool showcase. Just as a disclaimer, because I am a player in the tournament, I've only seen the map names. Oh, I guess we're just getting right into it. I don't know any of the maps. I haven't seen any of these, so you guys are mostly gonna be the ones talking to us about that. But yeah, let's just get straight into Nomon 1, which is going to be a Skyflame map. How's this one for us?
Yeah, it's a normal one. It's Skyflame, which means it's consistently difficult. It has comfortable jumps in it, as Nomad 1 should have. Otherwise, it's almost 4 minutes, 6.3 stars. That's kind of the Nomad 1 baseline difficulty we're going for. It is easier than the Qualifier, once again. It's just as last year, because that's just the way it is. Qualifier was targeting round of 16 and quarterfinal difficulty. So this one's gonna start a bit easier. So we might see a few more upset points here and there on this easier pool, but generally it's a pretty tough round. But yeah, this one being number 1 jumps, I think that's essentially it. I don't think Kano has anything else to say about this one, or do you, Kano? Can you surprise us?
I mean, there isn't really much to say about it. Like, you pretty much summed it up. The map is focused around a lot of aim. You definitely need a lot of aim consistency for this kind of thing, because the jumps are still pretty big despite it being easier than the qualifiers. And as you mentioned, with these map pools that we have coming up, round of 32 will be easier than qualifiers, but only slightly.
Alright, Aza, how was your day? I mean, there's not really a lot here. 4 minutes?
That's pretty good. Pretty good. Thanks for asking.
Circles.
Yeah, how does this relate to qualifiers in terms of difficulty? Not just this map, I guess like the whole pool.
So generally, obviously in qualifiers there were 10 maps, so that's just a way smaller sample size. So there's little you can really test except for the most basic skill sets, which will be represented in every single pool. So you will see your approach to 8 hiddens, that's gonna be present. You will see your weird hidden ones, which you saw here. Maybe not as hard as it was in Qualifier, but decent enough, right? And you will see your Nomad ones being jumpy, you will see your stream maps existing the way it was in Qualifier. Your alt map, your tech map, but then we also have a bigger pool size, so you will be seeing some more additions of like a bit more speed focus, an extra double time map. And free mod in general, which allows for more weird maps to be picked, right? So we do have the core skill sets represented in every pool, but extra. So that's something a lot of people need to be tested on during the matches. So it's not just a easy prediction from the qualifier results to decide the outcome of a match.
Also a very big up to skill for getting this replay for us, but I want to add to that as well. Basically, the qualifier pool tends to try and mix and match as many skills as possible together, and as was mentioned, you know, we have the introductory of a few extra slots this time around, and the same goes for quarterfinals as well. In qualifiers, we try to mix and match as many skills as possible, which will be tested across all of the pools, not just round of 32, not just round of 16. It includes quarterfinals as well. So, as you can tell from some of the maps that we had last week, there was a few like speed elements that were tested kind of to make it feel Nomad-esque, but not quite. And we sort of have that addition coming in these pools.
How about something that I'm curious about? How about what's the situation on custom maps this year? Not all of them are custom, or what?
Oh yeah, this one's not custom, obviously, even though it's recently resubmitted, but generally this one's not custom. We just kind of changed it. It's easy to have a new map set for it. But like the way we decide on actually going for a custom map is not like courses where we just do everything custom. But this year we're just doing, is something in ranked? No. Alright. Is something in unranked? No. Is there something in unranked we can change and work with the mapper? No. Alright, then let's just get a custom map in. That was the kind of priority list we did for this year.
I'm going to cut you off so that we can get into Nomad 2. It's going to be, I believe this one is custom. Could be wrong.
This
By
one's
by
custom.
leader, it's going to be speed battle. Again, leader I think is a pretty common name for Odabushi Nomad 2s. I think he did one last year, right?
Yeah, he was present in, I believe, semi-final stage or maybe finals. I can't quite remember which one, but I just remember he was doing one of the harder stages. And we felt that leaders maps definitely fit a lot better in the earlier stages. He seems to map streams in a way where, you know, it sort of feels simplistic. And we kind of wanted to make our No Mod 2s a little bit harder this year as well. But this map features a lot of wide aim, so you'll find that you need a bit of aim control to actually stay on some of these 5-note bursts and the streams themselves. But overall, we've gone for something that just focuses around a lot more stamina compared to the previous years. And you'll probably notice that in these upcoming sections very shortly.
So who's guest?
Good question. Who is Guest Wars?
Who is guest? That is actually a really good question. It wasn't me. I think this might have been Itki. Itki was also kind of dying inside, getting all of these replays. No, not all of them, but like some of them, right? But I don't know who guessed this, and we will see a lot more unknown names. I might probably just have to request a meme list before the showcase from Itki to maybe get a better idea of who is who. Because there will be some names which I actually don't know, and it's probably just, you know, meeting around. But yeah. I think Kano kind of said everything on this map. This can be split into, I guess, three sections. The first one is the middle, the beginning, long streams. This middle part here, which has some shorter bursts, will these name requirement into a stream, and there's a really long stream then, and then the ending. Yeah, it's mostly the long stream you have to look forward to.
Well, if we don't know who guest is, I'm just going to assume it's Peppy.
It has to
Thank
be.
you, Peppy, for the replay.
I'm surprised he got this good at it. That's why Laser's taking this long. But yeah, you'll see the last section, essentially a repeat of the first section. That's essentially the stream map. I think this is kind of the quintessential idea of what Nova 2 should be, in our opinion. And it's just going to be scaled up in difficulty with like just higher BPM, longer streams. That's what you can expect from Nova 2.
Yeah, we're trying our best to focus a little bit more on comfortable streams to some extent as well. There will be some harder ones towards the later stages, but it's not going to focus so much on a lot of accelerator and decelerator, I don't think. For the most part, we're just trying to go with simple stuff, but also make it difficult, or as difficult as we possibly can.
Alright, so that's the Stream Your No Mod pick. Let's now get into, I believe this is the alt slot, if I'm not wrong. It's going to be Pirates Banquet by THZZ. God, this song is so good.
Yeah, this is a pretty cool song, I agree there. It has 1/6 as you can see at the beginning for a short time, then 1/3 here. But essentially, this is definitely this weird border between an actual alt map or like a low BPM stream map. I would probably see both definitions to fit decently here. It also has that small little rhythm element to it, but not too much, to be honest. Like, if you miss somewhere, it's probably on the accelerating or decelerating, like just spacing of the streams here.
A couple bursts here and there too.
Yeah, a few 1/6 and like 1/3. But they shouldn't make out the actual difficulty of the map. If you missed there, you probably just finger locked or did something with tapping hand, which you shouldn't have done.
I think this is also another really good map that we have in this stage as well, because it sort of combines elements that we're hopefully going to have a little bit later on with some, you know, very, very light rhythm in the No Mod 6 slots that come later on towards the quarterfinal stage. And also, for those of you that don't know, the person who did the replay of this was actually vv781905782, who is an Australian player, hence the Up the Boys replay.
It had to be Australian. Dead giveaway.
Yeah, as
Yeah,
Paul's
it is.
mentioned, a lot of things that can happen here in this map. Like, you can definitely break on a lot of the accelerator stuff. There's room for error on the 1-6 and just some of the aim requirement in general. Definitely some tricky patterns as well. There's like a few overlapping patterns which are a little bit awkward, but for the most part, pretty good test.
All right. So here's another song I think a lot of people are going to be familiar with, but I believe this is also a custom map. It's going to be Sick by Halia.
Yeah, damn right, Azer, it is going to be sick. But no, this is a tech map that... I'm sorry.
I knew
I had
it.
to. But yeah, this is a map that focuses mostly around some standard comfortable tech. It has a few stream patterns and focuses around some slider tech as well with a little bit of SV stuff going on. For the most part, this map just features... You just require a little bit of control to be able to play this kind of thing. This is our introduction to tech, I would say. And as you can see, some of these sliders do start to go a little bit wonky, as the tech pick does.
I mean, yeah, having gotten the replay, I can definitely agree. This is a tech pick. I would say it's a very good introduction to tech. It doesn't have any weird snappy 1-4. It mostly focuses on SV and some streams and just hitting them accurately with like slider streams. Shouldn't really be an issue there. You can maybe screw something up. There's a bit of rhythm stuff. Like these, for example, there's the 1/3 part here. But nothing too outlandish. It doesn't go overboard at all.
Yeah, it seems to just mostly be about sliders.
For the most part, we tried to keep round of 32 relatively simple, and especially with some of the feedback that we received about the qualifier maps, it definitely made us think a little bit differently, but to some extent there might be a couple of picks which stand out a little bit from others. Just have to wait and see. Obviously the feedback is going to be the thing that is important here for us.
It's also quite short. I think most of the no-mod pool... Actually, no, not really. There's been two 3-minute maps, sorry. And here's another one, actually. No-mod pool actually be quite lengthy. This is almost 4 minutes. It's going to be Time Machine by Elchier. FG Sky TV. Thanks for the replay.
Yeah, that's probably good speed, I would imagine. And
What is this?
This is the normal 5 slot, which usually is reserved for speed. It complements the DT pool. So essentially what you see here is something you will not quite see with the same BPM, the same intensity as in DT. This one's 220 BPM on the longer-ish side, so there's more a bit of consistency. It's one of the longer picks, surprisingly, and might be a little bit just a little bit weird, I guess, in that sense, because the entire pool is generally on the shorter side, which I hope players will enjoy. But yeah, this one's a bit of a like longer consistency speed test, and has stream patterns of like 13 to 17 notes at some times. You definitely have like 3 parts to look out for, which is the beginning, which we already saw. Then we have the middle part, and then the ending. And in the middle part, I think they're the longest streams, or like the highest intensity, because they're only 13 note burst / streams, but they have a repeat slider for like 4 ticks or something, and then another 13 note burst. So, and that like 4 times in a row, which is a decent intensity, I would say. But yeah, this one's essentially that, and I don't think you really miss here. If you can play the BPM, you shouldn't really miss, I would say. Maybe screw up, like, if you screw up your tapping hand.
As Paul's mentioned, we definitely did try to go with a relatively low aim requirement, despite the star rating actually saying otherwise, but I think most of the star rating is definitely coming from these bursts, which you can see this is one of the more intense sections of the song, where you sort of will find players potentially dropping accuracy, especially if you're not too comfortable on this BPM, but this is pretty much our introduction to speed.
For a speed map being 4 minutes, this is pretty long. I guess it kind of clocks in as a stamina check more or less, right? For round 32.
Yeah, it's speed / stamina. It's definitely a memorable slot. where you can essentially either go like a 250 to 60 BPM map and then go speed from there on, or just go stamina heavy, right? It's doable either way. This one's definitely more on the stamina side than the actually, label of the slot, which is speed.
One thing to note as well is that it's also really, really hard to actually balance speed into early pulls. Because, these maps are going to be pretty easy for a lot of players, especially if you're capable of bursting 220 very easily. But yeah, we try our best to make it as difficult as possible for the early stages, because in the past I believe we have had some which might have felt a little too easy.
I mean, if you just look at speed, especially the kind of things we're going for, it's when you have the skill for the BPM, you shouldn't really have any issues here, right? And it's usually one of those, either you assess it or like get a really good score, or you just can't, and you just get a B or something, right? So we're trying our best to like benefit off of multiple skill set ranges, right? I mean, for example, me, who is probably going to get a better idea for the early speed rounds, and then if he can just play anything, right? So it's maybe sometimes harder to get a good feedback from HQ of like levels for early stages, because it's essentially just an FC most of the time, right?
So, there's no Nomad 6. What's that all about?
It's round of 32. Wait for it. Quarterfinals. Thank you.
Alright, okay, so let's get into Hidden One then. It's going to be a Vikala map. What's this song? That's a good one.
Yeah, the song is a pretty damn good song. This map is mostly focused on just hidden consistency. We definitely took the feedback of last week with a lot of people saying that Hidden One was on the harder side and tried to make this one feel a little bit easier compared to that. And this one mostly just tests your reading on Hidden, and it features a couple of awkward overlaps, definitely some patterns that can trip you up if you're not the most comfortable Hidden player, so I think teams that don't have the best Hidden lineup will definitely be punished on a map like this, even despite it being round of 32 level.
Yeah, this one's also one of the longer maps. I actually think Nomad 5 next to Tiebreak is the longest map, and this one the second longest or something like that.
Yeah, it's also worth noting there's no more long maps after this one. Everything is under 3 minutes.
Yeah, which I would say it's a definitely a like double-sided sword, right? Like a double-edged sword, where long maps are definitely cool to test specific things, right? If you go for a stamina map and you make it longer, it's kind of more stamina draining, so you might need to balance the amount of bursts you actually have in there, or the length of the bursts. But yeah, we're trying to be a bit more easier on the lengths as we can, because sometimes songs just don't fit, especially when we go for custom maps. This is also, I think, the pool with the highest level of picked maps versus custom maps. We're not trying to go full custom for a pool, but we're trying our best to keep it as low as possible, which surprisingly this year, or unsurprisingly, depending on how you looked at the state of ranked, wasn't really possible to keep really low for those stages. So yeah, this one is, I think this is probably the pool I'm not looking forward to the most, just because it has the largest level of pick maps and thus the least level of like fine control we have over the pool. You know what I mean? So that's just something for info for later. But yeah, I don't know how you feel about this one, Kano.
I mean, yeah, I think I agree with you when it comes to the level of control, because when it comes to the early stages, it is pretty hard to balance this kind of stuff out to make everything feel the way it's supposed to compared to the later rounds. I think round of 16 and quarterfinals are probably the stages where you sort of start to really feel what that skill is specifically testing, or what that modification is testing. think that it may be slightly on the hard side, but for the most part, we really, really wanted to use this, and unfortunately, it does not line up with the next stage in terms of difficulty. So here it is. As was mentioned, it does feature a little bit of a very, very light element of finger control with some of the doubles and things like that, but for the most part, it's just a pattern name test, which is something that we're trying to go for a little bit more on our 6.5 maps.
Yeah, I think this kind of just looks to be his usual type of mapping, where it's like a little bit uncomfortable, especially with some of that slider aim that's required. Fares well with precision. Should be one of the harder maps in the pool, so far, at least.
Yeah, and as you can see, it almost mirrors the, what should we call it, qualifier pool, exactly. You see your hardware 1, which is kind of there, more generic, and then your hardware 2, which is CS6.5. Obviously, not every CS6.5 is going to have awkward aim and stuff like that. There's different skill sets. For example, this one having a bit more rhythm here and there. With like doubles, nothing too outlandish though.
Alright, so 2 hiddens, 2 hard rocks. It's going to be 3 double times in the round of 32. Let's get right into the first one. It's going to be Shiori by Panty Dev.
There's not much really to say about this map. It's a map, but no, it's a very generic consistency map for double time.
Maps in order to see. Let's go, dude.
I know,
Circles,
right? It's
sliders.
unbelievable. But for the most part, this map is just focused around consistency in your aim, and it features a fair few triples and a couple of 5-note bursts as well, which means that there is a light speed requirement for this kind of thing. But for the most part, I think a lot of players will be very comfortable on this. Also, thank you to Monk to Don for the replay. Something to note about the replay is apparently he said to me something about wiggling on all of the repeat sliders. So I don't know what's up with that.
I saw that. Yep,
What?
that was a wiggle. That was a wiggle.
But why?
Because
Why
it
not?
could. It just
Because
shows
he
you,
can.
Yeah, it just shows that the map isn't like anything always special or just hard. If you can just start wiggling every single repeat slider, which is 1/4. Yeah, I mean, it's also approach at 10.2. That's also an important factor I would mention here. Also, for some reason, if you download this map, I think it's ranked, right? So if you download the map, it's like 13 megabytes or 20 megabytes. It's just a weird anomaly I saw. Every single map is like 8-9 megabytes, and this one's 20. A huge storyboard is in it or something.
It's the only his first ranked map, right? I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I guess there's not been a lot of ranked maps used recently, right? So this is kind of special.
Yeah, I mean, the first ranked map, there's actually more featured artists. Well, actually, I think there might be the same featured artist amount as ranked maps in sport. We'll have to calculate that. Don't take my word for it yet.
It's pretty interesting how Odyssey went from being ranked maps only to what it is now, with a lot of custom mapping, a lot of edits. That it's actually rare to see a ranked map.
I think that's kind of just the way the evolution came, right? Standards increase, and they did in the ranked section, so it's kind of like pooling always wasn't really high standards. There wasn't really exceptionally good pools because there was a limited amount of maps you could take. And if you want to make a better pool, I think custom mapping was just changing unranked maps is just the next evolution of that. And if you limit yourself for only ranked maps, that's a bit tough.
All right, now here is Darkish from Lourdes. Up the boys.
It's speed. Yep, that's the name of the game here. This is
What a
Eurobeats.
Toho speed map.
Oh my god! I mean, Eurobeats, Toho. Come on! I mean, up the boys. Exactly.
Alright, this is pretty good.
This map's great. Like, it's 247 BPM, so it's not too high BPM, but also not too low. If you want your stamina, take number 5. If you want your speed, take this one. As you can see, like 9 note bursts should be the longest. There's some triples into 5x bursts, stuff like that. Low aim requirements. Yeah, that's the map. It's a speed map. People with more speedy should be happy with this one. Kind of mirrors the DT2 except with less auto-aim of qualifiers.
One concern about this map is obviously that the aim requirement is very low, but for the most part this is doing what it needs to do in this slot, which is to test the speed. And that's the main thing that we've gone for with this one. So I think accuracy might be something that separates a lot of teams, but there's still a lot of potential to miss on some of the aim, especially if you don't have the control for this kind of map.
This is just about exactly what I would expect from a Toho Eurobeat DT map. It's a good thing. It's a good thing, but
it kind of mimics the map that we had last year as well. I believe we had a map by Trust in that slot.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that was runner 16, but it was also like 15 DPM lower and focused more on like a bit more finger control. Like Eurobeat has two ways it can go, either a more finger control-y path or like a more speedy path. Like at courses, there was a Eurobeat song there which was more speedy, and then the last year one from Trust was more finger control-y, but also stamina heavy. This one's like in between, it's kind of more speedy. Doesn't really have finger control, I would say.
And once again, thank you to Vivace for this replay. Up the boys!
Aren't these whistles great?
Oh god.
I too love whistle hit sounds.
I ran into someone that purposely added those in their custom hit sounding in their map. Anyway, DT3, the Grimoire of Alice. Obviously, this is not the top diff. This is going to be the Insane.
Yep, one of the lower diffs on the set. It is a pretty difficult finger control map. I would say this map is maybe ever so slightly on the harder side. It's also very, very awkward to play. Features a little bit of like uncomfortable aim to some extent, but for the most part it's just focused around some very, very light finger control. This is our introduction to that for the most part, but we're also trying to incorporate a little tiny bit of stamina with it as well, as you can see from some of the longer bursts on 213 BPM.
This looks so awkward to aim.
It looks harder than it actually is. I think the hardest part is actually not under streaming by one node on some of the streams. I think that was for me the hardest part in this map. Otherwise, it's this double part needs a bit of aim here. There's a space 1/4 double you see there, but essentially that's the map. This is definitely a bit on the harder side, as Kano said, but we kind of had to go for this one because the alternative would be to custom map something. And to be fair, you're gonna be sick of custom maps after this tournament, just as much as we will be. But this kind of represents what we want out of a DT3 finger control slot. It's gonna be DT4 later, but yeah, this is kind of what we want out of this slot.
Yeah, mostly going for a little bit of finger control and aim control combined together, which I think is something that this map captures pretty well. And obviously, since we do not have a stamina double time pick at the moment, we're also trying to mix and match a little bit and trying to put things together. And I think this might be one of the oversights of sort of trying to combine too many things at once that happened with Hidden One in the qualifiers, but we'll have to see. I think a lot of teams will still perform pretty solid on this overall, especially with enough practice.
Yep. 5 notes at the end.
Apraxia?
I hope we'll see something like that. Anyway, moving on to free mods now. Another very familiar song if you've been around for a while. BS Bauer Explosion by Panda Hero.
Yeah, this one's free mods. Project 9 flat, 180 BPM, so respectable density. Not, I think, just barely on the same level as the Hidden 2, the Project 8 map by Jasper. But yeah, this one's 180 BPM, streamy, focuses on Nomad and on Hidden, on mostly the density aspect and following streams properly, because that's, I think, a skill set that's also a bit undervalued. And on Hard Rock, obviously everything gets easier in terms of reading, and just the raw difficulty of the map is going to be on par with the rest of the pool, I guess if you're playing a Hard Rock deck. The map focuses mostly on streams. This map originally had 1/6 in it. We played around with a lot of things, changed a lot. This is an unrigged map, by the way. And we worked with Panda here to make a few changes here of the first half, get some 1/6 out, make it more consistently difficult, so you don't just get a bunch of free 100s when you play the map. I know it was a hard task, or like a hard decision to actually remove the 1/6 from this map, this song, because they're kind of iconic, right? And yeah, I hope it's a better tournament for it. Hope you guys enjoy that one.
Removing the active 1/6 was definitely something that was kind of heartbreaking for us, because, you know, this map is iconic for that reason, as Fours mentioned, but definitely, hopefully, it makes a better for tournament play, you know. It's just, these kinds of things, 1/6 is not something that we really want present for players to play on Hard Rock, because you're essentially doing 270 BPM quads on OD10, and that's a little bit hard for a stage like round of 32.
Like if you just verbally mention it that way, 270 BPM quads, OD10, and you combine it with a 5.8 star map, yeah, that sounds kind of wrong.
This song just never gets old. All right. There's another song that does not get old. This is a boomer free mod pull right here. It's gonna be Get Soto Satellite by Scub Domino. It's worth noting the diff name on this one. I think he wanted you to notice the diff name on this one.
Yeah, definitely the diff name, also the replay as well. I was just laughing at that for a second, seeing all of the things that just lined up together. But yeah, this one focuses on a lot of tricky patterns and aim. Obviously, there's also some 1/3 later on, which can definitely cause some timing problems on either mod. If you're playing this on Hidden, obviously with this map being 230 BPM, there is a density aspect to that, so there will be a little bit of reading requirement that will make it pretty tricky on Hidden. And as for Hard Rock, as you can see, it's mostly just about the aim requirement and obviously your ability to act the map. But we have a couple of really awkward and tricky patterns coming up. They look fairly simple on Hard Rock, but if you have to play these on No Mod and Hidden, there's a couple of them which will probably trip you up.
Yeah, I think the difficulty comes here from obviously the jumps, mostly jump based, high BPM, and these 1/3 here, you can definitely get a few 100s here and there. We adjusted the OD to be slightly higher. It's OD 8.5, I think OD 9 or something like that on No Mod. So you don't take that much of a hit as Hard Rock, but you still, I mean, it's still OD 10, right? There's still a bit of a difference. Yeah, otherwise, I hope your in-game is on point, and there's one part which is coming up pretty soon, which you might need to play a few times on Hidden to like at least understand the way it's patterned is not the way it's like meant to be played, kinda. It's gonna come up in like 4 seconds. Yeah, that double is actually blue tick, so you don't just immediately jump to the next one. You have a bit of a break there, I guess you would call it. Yeah, just play that one on Hidden for 2 times, you should get it down, I would say. But, yeah.
Good question in chat. No Mod AR on this, I think, is 9.3.
Yep, 9.3. That's a good question. You're right. My bad. And for the next map, which is a tiebreaker, I want to apologize in advance. I also wanted to make this one a surprise.
Yeah, I've never seen this. I don't know what
dear
this is.
Azer. Yeah, if we get into the next map, we have My Chemical Romance. Welcome to the Black Parade.
What?
That was
Yeah,
kind of
this-
the
I was
reaction we
expecting like a
expected.
meme or something. Like, what?
It's actually it's no, it's not that much of me, but it's something you would never expect ever out of a tiebreak, I would say, and I didn't either.
That's
Mock just came
that's
by,
interesting.
said, "You want 1/3? You want like streams? You want aim? here's the map, here's the song. And I'm like, wait, this could actually work. And then when we okayed it and he finished, we're like, hey, this actually kind of works. What did we do? Why did we do this? But yeah, this map starts off for like 1 minute and 30 seconds of a slow part. It's 72-ish BPM, 1/6. That means it's like 220 BPM single taps. It has very variable BPM at the beginning. So if you alternate this, you might get a lot of 100s. If you single tap this shouldn't be too hard to act properly. It focuses on the snap patterns at the beginning to 20 BPM, low BPM, and low spacing, and then these faster sliders. Then after the first 1 minute and 30 seconds, it goes into the standard tiebreaker. You got 180 BPM jumps, streams here and there. It also goes into 194 BPM jumps and streams. And then at the end or in the middle, it has a few slowdowns and 1/3 patterns, which are like 140 BPM. This should have a lot of skill sets covered. And hacking is definitely tough on this one.
This map is definitely something that a lot of people probably wouldn't have expected, at least the song especially. For the most part, as Four said, Moff kind of just like said, hey, would this work? And then we were like, you know what, try it. And then it kind of did. Like, it's still very tricky. And I mean, we were talking about removing some tricky stuff out of a couple of other maps, but the intro of this is probably going to be the hardest part when it comes to accuracy. Some players will get it down, other players will struggle quite a bit. But that also depends if these maps, if the matches even come down to tiebreaker. But this map basically features as many things as possible. You've got some aim focus, you've got some stream focus later on, you've got some 1/3 going on throughout this map. It's just everything messed up into one, basically.
It's kind of cool. There's very much a lack of this Western type of music, I feel, in the game, so it's nice to have some representation for it.
Yeah, and I just remember like back in the day when I was listening to this song in like some TV channel, like MTV Music TV channel or something, and then this played, and now I'm like sitting here on some mostly anime-infested game, and then something disappears. It's like, I don't know, it's just two different worlds just colliding together for me.
I think there's a little bit of irony going on as well when the song is older than some of the players that are playing in the tournament.
Oh yeah, right. Oh Jesus Christ.
And
I didn't even think of that.
Some of them have probably never ever heard of this song before. They're like, what are these boomers talking about?
Oh yeah, slowdown parts coming up soon. Those are like 120 BPM streams. Those is definitely something you probably don't want to alternate. I don't want to single time, I mean.